Hi, in this video, we're going to do ratio, and it's under the constant part of the ratio questions that you'll be seeing. So constant part ratio questions frequently appear in PSLE, and that being said, also all major examinations. Basically, what constant part means is that one part of the ratio changes, but the other part actually remains the same. So because it remains the same, we call it the constant. Then that's where the name comes from, which is constant part. All right, to solve these kinds of questions, we need to identify which part of the ratio remains the same, which is also known as the constant, all right, and that's why it's called the constant part. We need to multiply a factor to make the before and after the same, all right, which is to make the same part the same. And then after that, we solve for the difference. And if you don't understand what I just said, let's take a look at a few simple examples. A is to B is 4 is to 3, and B is to C is 6 is to 7. So what is A, B, and C? So the first question we need to ask ourselves is which part is constant, all right? So I have A is to B and B is to C. So I know that B is the item that is constant. So I'm going to write out my ratio. A is to B is to C. And then I'm going to ask myself, how do I make the constant part the same? So I write down A is to B first, which is 4 is to 3. And then I write out B is to C, which is 6 is to 7. And I need to make this constant part the same, all right? So that's what I'm going to do by multiplying a 2 to this, which makes the 3 into a 6. And because I multiply by 2 on this side, so I also need to multiply by 2 on this side, and it becomes 8 is to 6 and 6 is to 7. And now, because the constant part is the same, I both have 6 over here. Therefore, I can write 8 is to 6 is to 7, and that is my A is to B is to C. So what I've just done is I have taken my constant, I've looked at which part is the constant, and I know it's this part, and I need to make this 3 the same as 6. Or I can make 6 the same as 3. It works the same both ways. Alright, so if I take 3 times 2, I need to times 2 on the A side, and therefore it becomes 8 is to 6. Now what happens if I want to make 6 into the same as 3? So let's rewrite this again. So 4 is to 3 and 6 is to 7. So if I want to make 6 the same as 3, I need to divide this by 2. So therefore, I need to divide this by 2 as well. And my ABC becomes 4 is to 3 is to 3 and a half. All right. Or you can say 3.5 units. So that's how we can do it. If you don't understand this part, don't worry. Most of the time, you will just be required to multiply it. Okay, now we're going to add some numbers to the previous question. All right, so now A is to B is 4 is to 3, B is to C is 6 is to 7. What is A is to B is to C? And then I'm going to say A has 10 more than C. What is the total? And how much more does A have than B? So let's take a look at A. Okay, so first of all, again, which part is constant? All right, I need to find the constant part. So A is to B, B is to C. I know that B is the constant. So this part is the constant. So I'm going to write A is to B is to C. A is to B is 4 is to 3, and B is to C is 6 is to 7. So I'm going to times 2 to make 3 into 6. I'm going to times 2. Because I times 2 here, I'm going to times 2 here as well. So it's 8 is to 6. And therefore, my final ratio is 8 is to 6 is to 7. So the next question is A has 10 more than C. How do we do that? So A has 8 units. B has 6 units. C has 7 units. And if you take 8 units minus 7 units equals to 1 unit. So that's A minus C. So 1 unit is actually 10. All right, because A has 10 more than C. So if you take A minus C, that gives you 10. What is the total? So you need to add a total here. All right, so Total, simply you add up 8 plus 6 plus 7, and that gives you 21 units. So if 1 unit is 10, 21 units is 10 times 21 equals to 210. Alright, so that is the total. And the third question is, how much more does A have than B? So how much more does A have than B? So if you take A, 8 units, minus B, which is 6 units, that gives you 2 units. So if 1 unit is 10, 2 unit is 2 times 10 equals 20. Alright, so that's the answer for this one. So this is a very basic question with a constant ratio. I removed all, they're going to give you much more complicated questions, but in essence, constant ratio, you have to keep asking yourself which part is constant. All right, so once you ask yourself and you can figure out which part is constant and make that part the same, and once you can do these two things, then you are more than halfway to solving the constant ratio problems. Now let's look at another question. A is to B is 1 is to 2. B increases by 10. Then A is to B becomes 1 is to 3. What is A and B at first? Which part is constant, and how to make the constant part the same? Alright, so this is your thinking point. Alright, so which part is constant, which means which part didn't change. And if you see B increased by 10, therefore A is constant and A did not change. So if I write A is to B, it first is 1 is to 2, okay? And the second part I need to write is the change. The change is B plus 10, so B plus 10. So again, this is 2 units. And then after is 1 is to 3 units. Alright, so I made this easy for you by giving you the same ratio. But basically, these two are the same ratio, so you don't have to multiply them. So therefore, you just take the 3u, which is the after, minus the 2u, which is the before, which is the 1u, that's the difference. And this 1u is the 10 that I added into B. So I've made the constant part the same because it was the same, so there's no need to make. And I know that 1u is 10. So therefore, A equals to, so at first, comma, A is equals to 1u, so it's equals to 10. B equals to 2u, so it has 20. Alright, so at first A had 10 and B had 20. Okay, this is a slightly harder example. So let's say I'm playing Minecraft and my ratio of wood planks to iron ingots is 10 is to 3. I used 154 wood planks to craft a boat. So after that, the ratio of wood planks to iron ingots became 3 is to 2. How many wood planks have I got left? Alright, so let's work this out. So my ratio of wood planks to iron ingots is 10 is to 3. And then I use 154 wood planks to craft a boat, so minus 154. This is units. And after that, the ratio became 3 is to 2. So question, which one is the same? So by now you should know that the iron ingots remain the same. So I need to make them the same. So one is 3 and one is 2. Lowest common multiple is 6, so I need to times 2 to this, and I need to times 3 to this, so it becomes 6u, and I need to times 3 to this, becomes 9u. So this also becomes 6u, and I need to times a 2 to this, this becomes 20u. Alright, so I know I used 154, so what happens is my 20u became 9u after I used it. So my 20u minus 9u equals to 11u, and therefore I know my 11 units is actually 154. Alright, so how many wood planks have I left? So you can find 1 unit. and then after that you can find you are left with 9 units. All right. So 1 unit, or the simple way, you can actually remove this step. Just write 9 units here, and then you take this and you divide this and you multiply by this. I want you to draw these 2 arrows as well. So it's 9 divided by 11 times 154. All right. If you have a calculator, then you can use this. If you do not have a calculator, then you just find 1 unit, and then from there you multiply by 9. Okay, and write down the answer. That's the answer. So there were a total of 126 red and blue beads in the ratio 1:2. Some red beads were given away. The number of red beads was 2/9 of the remaining beads. All right, so 2 is the red bead and 9 is the remaining beads. So let's write down the ratio first. So I have red is to blue is 1:2. All right, and I have a total of 3 units, and it's also known as 126. So let's just write down the units here. So some red beads were given away, so let's just write given. I don't know how much is given. And then the number of red beads was 2/9 of the remaining, so 2 is here. Now question, where is 9? It's the remaining bead, so which is all that is remaining. Therefore, it is the total of the added part. All right, and therefore blue is left with 7 units. So this line is important for you to understand. When I say it's 2/9 of the remaining, the 9 is the remaining, which is the total that is added up. Okay, so 2 out of 9, and therefore blue is 9 minus 2, which is 7. Now, if to look at which part is constant, and we know that the blue is constant, so I need to times 7 to make it the same, times 2 to make it the same, times 7 times 2. And what happens after that is I write down the new ratio, which is 7 units, 14 units, and it's also times 7, 21 units, times 2, this becomes 4 units, 14 units, and this can be 18 units. And because I've made my constant part the same, so I know that in terms of given, I have given 7 units. I have 7 units at first, minus away 4 units in the end. Therefore, I have given 3 units away. Now question, how much is 1 unit? So we need to find 1 unit. From here, we can actually decide that 21 units is 126. And therefore, 1 unit is 6. And if I have 3 units, that means it's 18. So my answer is I have given 18 beads away. So in this question, it's a little bit more complicated. I have red, blue, and I total. So the constant is actually blue. You have to realize that. The other key thing is this statement. All right. So you have to understand what this statement is trying to say. So my 2 belongs to the red over here, and my 9 belongs to the remaining. Remaining means after I've given. So let's just draw it out. So this is my total number of beads. This is my given away beads, and this is my remaining beads. Okay, so out of this, a portion is red and a portion is blue. So my red is 2, and out of the remaining is 9. All right, so 9 is the remaining. That's where I wrote here, and therefore to find blue, it's 9 minus 2 to get 7. And so now I want to find how many units have been given away. So I take 7 units over here, minus away the 4 units, I get 3 units. And I find out that 3 units is given away. And then from there, 21 units is actually my 126, my total. My 1 unit is 6. And finally, my 3 units is 18. Okay, in this question, the number of red, blue, and yellow is 12:7:3. 56 red was sold. 1/3 of the remaining shirts were red. How many yellow at first? All right, so let's look at this question. So I have red, I have blue, I have yellow, and they say it's 12 is to 7 is to 3. All right, so just put my U here first. And 56 was sold, so minus 56 red was sold. 1/3 of the remaining shirts were red. So what does this mean? So again, I have, these are all my shirts. These are some that were sold, and this is my remaining. So out of my remaining, 1/3 were red. Now the other 2/3, they didn't say it is blue and yellow, right? It's a mix of blue plus yellow, right? It doesn't have to be 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, but it's just blue plus yellow. So we need to add down a total column here. So 1/3 means 1 unit is red, all right? And the total that is left after that is 3 units. Okay, so this is the after column. So 1 unit is red, 3 units is the total. Now my 2 units is somewhere here, but I don't know where is it. But I know that I didn't sell any blue and yellow. So these two combined is actually 10 units. And these two combined is actually 2 units. All right, if you look at my model here, so this is red. And these two combined, the other 2 units is actually blue plus yellow. Okay, so if I take blue plus yellow, it's 10 units, and this is 2 units. So this is actually blue plus yellow is actually the constant part. All right, so this constant part actually has 2 parts, and you need to add them together. So then I need to make this 10 and the 2 the same. So I times 5, I times 5, and I times 5. So this becomes 5u. This becomes 10u, and this becomes 15u. So I know initially my red shirts at 12. After that, I became 5. So in between, I sold 56 shirts. So 12u minus 5u is equals to 7u. And 7u is actually 56. So 1u is 8 shirts. So the question is asking how many yellow shirts at first. So yellow has 3 units at first. So therefore 3 units is 8 times 3, 24. Alright, so yellow had 24 shirts at first. Alright, next question. There are some red, blue and green marbles. Red is to blue is 5 is to 2. Blue is to green was 3 is to 5. I removed 126 red marbles. 1/3 are red marbles left. How many marbles left in the box? Okay, so let's write down the letters first. So red is to blue is to green. Red is to blue is 5 is to 2. And blue is to green is 3 is to 5. So this is quite easy. I know that my blue is my constant part. My blue is my constant part. So I need to make it the same. I multiply by 3. I multiply by 2. Multiply by 2. Multiply by 3. My final ratio is 15 is to 6 is to 10. Alright, so this part is quite basic. So I removed 126 red marbles minus 126. These are units. So minus 126. 1/3 are red, so this is after 1/3 is red, so 1, and the total is 3, and somehow so I need to have a total column. This is 3 units, and again this two combined together is 2 units. All right, so I didn't touch my blue and green. It's 2 units, 1/3. So 1/3 of the total, so 1 total is 3, therefore my blue plus green is 2 units. At first, my blue plus green was 16 units, so I need to times 8. I need to times 8. No, this one doesn't need to times because it is already 16. And I need to multiply by 8. Okay? So my new ratio is 8 units. My new after ratio is 16 units. is to 24 units. So now I've made my part the same, all right, and my rate ratio has dropped from 15 units to 8 units. So 15 units minus 8 units equals to 7 units, and I know that I removed 126. It's 126, okay? And they're asking me how many marbles are left in the box. So I know in my box I have 24 units left. So I need to find 1 unit, and then after that I find 24 units, okay? And that is the answer. Okay, let's look at this question, right? There are some students, 8 of them left after 1 hour, 1/6 of the remaining students left after another hour, 225 students entered after the both group of students left. So ratio of students at the end to at first was 7:8. How many students at first? Okay, so it's quite a complicated question. So let's look at it and break it down one step at a time. So first of all, 1/6 of the remaining students left after 1 hour. When I see the word remaining, I know I need to use some kind of branching method. All right, so first I have all my students, 8 left after 1 hour, and I have 8 left. So 1/6 of my remaining students left after another hour, so I know I have 5/6 left. So this part is 5/6 multiplied by 3/8 equals 5/16. Okay, so this question is a bit complex, so I want to draw a model and explain to you. So this is all my students. All right, so this is all my students. 5/8 left after 1 hour, so this is 5 units, this is 3 units, altogether that's 8. So this part of the students have left after 1 hour. 1/6 of the remaining students left after another hour. So this is my remaining students, this is 1 unit, this is 5 units, so altogether is 1/6. So 1/6 left after another hour. So this number here, what we calculated is actually this part, all right? And what we are saying is this part is 5/16 of the original. So this whole 16 is this part, all right? This is a very important concept that you need to understand in order to understand this question. So because I took 5/6 over here, multiplied by 3/8, I get 5/16. So I'm saying this part is 5. Out of the all parts is 16. All right, so in the beginning, there's 16. So ratio of students at the end to at first was 7:8. So at the end to at first was 7:8. Now, the other part here also states that 5 out of 16. And this was before the 225 students entered. So after this, another 225 students entered. Then it became 7:8. So you need to realize that this 16 is actually the first, which is over here, 16 units. And 5 units is actually here, 5 units. And this 225 is actually the difference between these two states, okay? So just to repeat again, this is after 5 out of 8 has left. This second part is 1/6 of them has left, and I know that I have 5/16 left. I add another 225 students, I get 7 units is to 8 units if my n is to my first. So therefore, if I just take this part, and I know that my beginning is 16 students, I have 5 students at this point, so it's 5. My at first is 16 students. My difference is actually 225. All right, so 7 units minus 5 units equals to 2 units, and that is 225. And once I get this, then I can solve for the rest. The most important statement you need to understand is this line. All right, once you can understand this line, then you can do the rest. So how many students are there at first? So at first, oh wait a minute, I made a mistake over here. Sorry. So you need to realize that your constant ratio is actually the ratio at first. And you need times 2 here, times 2 over here. So this becomes 14 units. So 14 units minus 5 units equals to 9 units, gives you your 225. And I want to find out how many students at first, which is 16 units. All right, so you just work out the 16 units. The rest is quite easy. The key part that you need to understand, and I drew the model for you, is actually this part. All right, how you get that your 16 is actually your ratio at first, and your 5 is actually this, and the difference is this 225 students that entered. All right, once you can figure this out, then the rest is quite easy.